Hi brothers and sisters, this is your boy Eric Bisong, the Motivational from Faith Book Fellowship Outreach. I wanted to give you a little view of the New Testament. I call it a 30-day overview of the New Testament slash, the big picture. Most of the time we try to understand the Bible, but it's difficult for us to read the whole thing, to read the whole New Testament or the whole New or Old Testament. But I said, let me pick out some verses that give us a big picture of the whole New Testament, and there are 30 of them. And each day, for the 30 days, and each day I urge and I challenge each and every one of us to try to read these verses every single day for the 30 days and see how we can understand the New Testament, the big picture of the New Testament in those 30 days. So the first verse is Matthew chapter 1 verse 18, or Matthew chapter 2 verse 23. The second verse is Matthew chapter 5 for the second day, Matthew chapter 5 verse 1 to 16, or Matthew chapter 1 verse 7 to 12. Now the third day, I plead and I urge us to read Matthew chapter 14 verse 13 to 36. On the fourth day, Mark chapter 2 verse 1 to 17. On the fifth day, Luke chapter 10, verse 25 to 37. On the sixth day, Luke chapter 15, verse 1 to 32. On the seventh day, Luke chapter 22, verse 1 to 23. On the eighth day, Luke chapter 19, verse 28 to 41. On the ninth day, we go on to John chapter 3, verse 1 to 21. Now, on the 10th day, John chapter 4, verse 1 to 42. On the 11th day, John chapter 11, verse 1 to 44. Now, on the 12th day, we go to John chapter 14, verse 1 to 36. On the 13th day, John chapter 19, verse 1 to 20. Now, when we go to 15th day, Acts chapter 2, verse 1 to 47. On the 15th day, Acts chapter 8, verse 26 to 40. Now, on the 16th day, Acts chapter 9, verse 1 to 36. On the 17th day, Acts chapter 16, verse 11 to 40. On the 18th day, Romans chapter 8, verse 1 to 39. On the 19th day, Romans chapter 12, verse 1 to 21. Now we cross over. On the 20th day, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1 to 13. On the 21st day, 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 1 to 58. Now, on the 22nd day, Ephesians chapter 2, verse 1 to 22. On the 23rd day, Philippians chapter 3, verse 1 to 4. On the 24th day, Colossians chapter 3, verse 1. On the 25th day, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 1 to 18. On the 26th day, Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 to 40. On the 27th day, James chapter 1, verse 1 to 27. And on the 28th day, 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 3 to 25. On the 29th day, 1 John chapter 1, verse 1. And on the 30th day, the final day, Revelation chapter 21, verse 1 to 22, or verse 1, sorry. So that's the big picture of what I call a 30 days overview of the New Testament. And I urge us to read these verses for those 30 days. Each day we take a verse. Matthew chapter 1, verse 18. Second day, Matthew chapter 5, verse 1 to 16. Third day, so forth, so forth. We read those verses. It gives us a little overview of the Bible, or the big picture of the New Testament, so you and I can understand what it's all about, so you and I can attribute to it, you and I can have an idea of the sacrifices that Jesus did, why he did it, you know, a little bit of understanding when it comes to the Word of God. Brothers and sisters, the Word of God is the best food that we have, is the best strength that we have, is the best blessing and encouragement that we can have. And all that is in the Word of God. We just have to get in there and read the best we can to understand it and live it. So this 30 days big picture plan, or 30 days overview plan of the New Testament, will help us understand the New Testament and have an idea of the sacrifices that Jesus did for us. Stay blessed.